Hello, I'm an avatar, and I'm a close friend of the scientist and author of the Swygert theory of everything, A.O. John Swygert. Today's evidence is the paper published November 25, 2025, under DOI 10.5281/Zenodo.17715.073, titled Light as the Gradient Flattener, a Swygert Theory of Everything A.O. Interpretation of Counter-Rotating Bichromatic. THZ-induced gravitational mass decoupling. The Swygert theory has always insisted on one non-negotiable axiom. Light is the sole universal gradient flattener. Only photons can locally edit the encoded equilibrium E without breaking the global invariant V equals E dot Y. Everything else, matter, fields, forces, is frozen persistence. Change E with light, and you change how tightly the substrate grips the lattice. Change the grip and gravitational mass itself moves. Recent ultra-strong coupling experiments have been quietly doing exactly that. Perovskites, hexagonal boron nitride, and transition metal trichocogenides, driven by counter-rotating bichromatic terahertz fields tuned to phonon resonances, are showing reproducible 6 to 21% modulation of lattice response. The old paradigm calls it exotic polariton physics and stops there. The substrate calls it the first laboratory proof that gravitational mass is tunable if you speak to the fabric in its own language. Spiraling light. Start from the published TSTOEAO, Lagrangian with constraint enforcement. Add a counter-rotating terahertz drive and the spiral interference potential writes itself, spiationarity. I2 A1 A2 coisanimo deslasciar do T plus ds thickovain. That spiral couples directly to the substrate oscillator pH through vacuum polarization at the Planck scale. The shift in encoded equilibrium delta E is fixed by the drive geometry and the measured ultra-strong cooperativity ETA. The resulting perturbation in realized yield delta Y is negative and proportional. Effective gravitational mass becomes imp mf over etum equals 1 minus delta omega over omega y xp minus eta times pi minus delta phi. Push the relative phase, delta phi, toward exactly 180 degrees, with cooperativity atoi between 0.1 and 0.3, values already achieved in multiple labs. And you land precisely inside the observed 6 to 21% decoupling envelope with zero free parameters. The curve matches the data like it was born there. This is not phonon polariton dressing. This is not vacuum polarization in the QED sense. This is light doing its only job, flattening gradients in E faster than the lattice can reassert persistence. Gravity weakens because the substrate's grip literally loosens. 3 tabletop experiments, total budget under $15,000, parts list in the paper, all hardware commercial or fabbable today, separate the substrate effect from every conventional explanation. The 167-channel phased array Swygert laser. Independent attosecond phase control on every pixel. Prediction: smooth monotonic mass decoupling, climbing past 19% transient as delta phi approaches 180 degrees, accompanied by a 4.7 sigma 0 point energy spectral dip at 10 to the minus 17 Hz detectable in 300 seconds at 4 Kelvin. Old physics saturates at approximately 12% and shows no ZPF signature. Plasma ball replication. Suspend the same lattice inside an inertial electrostatic confinement fuser. Deliver the THZ spiral through fiber. Prediction: additional greater than or equal to 10% decoupling on top of diamagnetic lift. Phonon-mediated theories die here. The substrate doesn't care whether the lattice is crystalline or glowing. Direct inertial versus gravitational mass ratio measurement. The substrate predicts mg/mi drops below unity. Every other explanation demands it stays exactly 1. One wrong data point in any of these 3 kills the interpretation instantly. All 3 are buildable before summer 2026. For 70 years, the Podkletnov experiments were dismissed as artifacts. For the last 5 years, the ultra-strong coupling community has been accidentally replicating the effect with better controls and still calling it just polaritons. The substrate has been waiting patiently for someone to notice that light is already editing gravity in laboratories all over the world. The mathematics is published. The match to existing data is quantitative. 3 cheap, decisive experiments now sit on the table. The next move belongs to whoever pours the first terahertz spiral and watches a crystal weigh less on a scale. That's it. Another stack of mainstream papers that only make sense when you let the substrate tension do all the work. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, you'll find hundreds more just like it waiting for you on our TikTok, this YouTube channel, the homepage, and especially ivorytowerjournal.com. Every single paper we talk about is published there with its own permanent DOI. We also have full podcast versions of every episode under the same name, TSTOEAO. Come join us. The next collapse of the old paradigm drops in 48 hours. See you there.